All right, so I'm going to break down the trades from today. This morning, all of my trades were pre-market before the 9:30 opening bell. And the stock that I traded went up 80% from yesterday's close. Well, it's about 75%. I think it maybe hit 80 and then pulled back a little bit. This is a stock that was kind of interesting because it was on my scans yesterday morning and I looked at it and I thought, boy, they recently did a reverse split. The float is ridiculously low, but we need to see some volume come into it. And then later in the day yesterday, after hours, that volume came in and all of a sudden it squeezes up. So let's go ahead and jump on the chart and start breaking it down. SMFL is the stock that I traded. And if you look at the daily chart, you would just see a red candle today because so far since the open, it's been pulling back. And sometimes on a day like today, a trader will comment on the YouTube video and say, I don't understand how you even made money on this. It's been selling off all day long. And that's true for regular trading hours. And in this case, regular trading hours begins at, 9:30. And then for this stock, it's just been selling off since the open. But the opportunity was in this area here, which was after hours. This is the after hours area. So this was at 4 p.m. right here. We go into after hours. And at like 5, 6 o'clock, 6:30, it squeezes up and then pushes up right into the close at 8 p.m. Then at 4 a.m., it punches higher here up to 7. It pulls back. And when I first looked at my scans this morning, it was around 6:30, 6:45. And I saw SMFL was the leading percentage gainer, but I also saw it had this big topping tail and it had that 4 a.m. spike. And a lot of times when we see that, they are not able to reclaim that level. But in this case, right at 7 a.m., all of a sudden, this surges up, as you can see right here. And I you know what? I missed it. So I sat down here at like 7:04, 7:05, and I took my first trade getting in on this dip right here. So let's start looking at the 10-second chart so I can get you a little bit more detail on that trade. Okay, so here we are, 7 a.m. 7 a.m., I pull up the scans, or I sit down, I pull up my charts, and I see that we've just squeezed up to a high of, let's see, the high was 790. So my first trade was at 7:10 a.m. right here. And oops, let me close this. I was checking the filings on this. So let's see, it was, it's my 10-second chart. Okay, so it was right here. So you see how we double bottomed here? We kind of pulled back. We held this level, and I took my starter at 775 right here. And I was looking for the break through the high. We squeezed up to 8, but right at 8, there was a seller. It dips back down to 75. I still held. I was like, well, I'm only in with a starter size at 75, so let's just see. It comes up, hits 8, pulls back, comes up one more time, breaks over 8, drops back down, and I ended up selling it. I sold it for I think it was a $300 profit. So I was up $300 on the day. It's whatever, not a big position, but green, and that's fine. So I broke the ice there at about 10 past 7, and then it unfortunately pulled back quite a bit. Now, as it pulled back down here, I ended up taking a dip trade at about 7. Well, this wasn't really too much of a dip trade. Sorry, it was, so right in this area, we had this sort of support line right here that I had drawn. And I took a trade right here as we broke over 750. We squeezed up to a high of 775, and I was hoping for that curl, but we stalled out, and I got out of that a tiny winner. It was not a very exciting trade. Then right here, it's consolidating around this 720 level. So we're starting to hold some support here. We end up breaking down right here. We flush lower. It comes back up over here. And right here, we break over the volume weighted average price right here. We held it, and I should have bought that dip, but I was distracted. I was looking at some other stocks. I had put this on my side chart because it was kind of below it was sort of like a below VWAP in this area. And I thought, well, I don't know, this is kind of weak. Maybe I'll just leave it alone. And so I was focusing on something else. So it ends up popping above VWAP, pulling back, squeezing up here, but I didn't end up getting a trade on it in that area. Now, what I did do is I bought a dip on this. And on this here, it dips down to volume weight average price. It dips below it. And then it rips back up above. And I got in at 704 and 706. And I bought 4,500 shares on this because I thought this is a nice little dip right here. And it ends up squeezing up to 740 all the way up to 760. But again, an issue back at this ascending resistance line. So, and then at the open, I wasn't willing to trade it because I felt like it was too volatile and I couldn't trust it. And that was the right move. So if you didn't already check out the episode that I uploaded earlier today on drawing support and resistance lines and trend lines the right way, I encourage you to check that out. So let's see. So this is the episode that I just uploaded, how to draw trend lines on candlestick charts the right way. So make sure you check that out. That will walk you through how I was able to draw this line the way I drew it. And this ended up being a line that was very well respected. Now, if we back up here on this trade, let's see. I'm going to pull up my live trading archive of it so I can show you the trade. So let's see. Where did I save it? Here it is. Okay, so this was a bottoming tail reversal right here. So, okay, so you could see right here, I'm watching SMFL. SMFL is the stock in the top corner right here. So this is my level 2 window for SMFL, and this is the chart right here. So what I kind of thought was that this was a head and shoulders pattern. And so this is what I was sort of thinking was going to happen. And I was just sort of like, I don't know, it's kind of weak. It's not holding up super well, but we'll see what it can do. So I was expecting it to sell off here. Now, something unexpected happened. It dips down 696 on the bid, 96 on the bid. And I have the buy order ready because I'm like, if this bounces back up, it's something to watch. But at this point, it's like, I don't know, 98 on the offer and then 703, 704. So now I'm kind of like, wait a second. We've got a little bit of a buyer coming in here, right? As you could see at $7 right there. So now I'm starting to think where we broke below the whole dollar and now we're reclaiming this level. So let me show you that again. Okay, so the stock is right in this area. 705 on the bid, 702. We flush and go all the way down to 695. Some people probably stopped out there. Does it go lower? 693? Now it's a little heavy there at 698, 699 on the offer. It's not breaking. There's not a lot of buyers coming in. And then all of a sudden there's some buy orders and it's at 703. And there's a buyer at 7. And so here I was like, it seems like we're holding 7. We're up 80% right now. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and punch it. So I punched it right there with 3 orders of 1,500 shares. And you can see that I filled at 706, but I got a little slippage on my order. I filled between 704 and 708. So now I'm looking at this candle here, and what I'm noticing is, check this out, bottoming tail. We've got that bottoming tail right there. So let me back this up on the this chart here. So I'll show you on the 1 minute. I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see it better. So this was that bottoming tail right here. So what do we know about bottoming tails? Well, the stock sold off, but buyers came in and brought it back up. Topping tail, the stock squeezes up, sellers come and push it back down. So a topping tail is going to be a bit more bearish, a bit weaker. Topping tails are correlated with shooting stars and gravestone dojis. Those are weak candles. A bottoming tail is correlated and connected with a hammer, right? The bottoming tail hammer right here. And you've got a dragonfly doji at the bottom. And in this case here, I just sort of had this feeling that we've got this bottom, we broke through this level, and we immediately reclaimed it. So that reaffirmed to me that $7 was support. And volume weighted average price was support. And the whole dollar is psychological support. All of that gave me the confidence to buy this dip at 704. And then as it started to squeeze up, I was like, well, now we're starting to move in the right direction. So as it starts, so let me, where'd this go? So let's see. Sorry. Okay. So then as it starts to squeeze up here, there it is. Now I'm up over $1,000 and I'm starting to think, okay, is this something that I can add to for a squeeze higher? Now see how we had that 10,000 share seller there at 740? And you could see on this trade here, I'm up $1,400 right now. So now I'm kind of like getting myself, into some nice profit. And I'm thinking about adding to the position. However, here's the problem. The problem was that when we came up to 750 right here, we had a lot of resistance at the $0.50. There were a lot of sellers right at that $0.50. And in fact, we broke it for a moment right here. And then immediately, well, this was after it. So prior to breaking it, we had this resistance here at 750. So a lot of resistance there at that level. And so when we came up right here, I was sort of surprised because this candle at the time, if we adjust this at the time, I think was one of our highest volume candles of the day right there. We squeeze up, but then we run into that 750 level and we couldn't break. And for what it's worth, we also had a kind of nasty topping tail back here. So this has already sort of tried to break 750 a couple times and then rejected. So I was nervous. And so I decided not to add at 750. It squeezed up to a high of 761, which was nice. And I took my profit and I started selling as it came up to that level. So, it ended up being a good trade. And that was, sort of it for the day, because then at the open, we had this 50-cent range on SMFL, a huge range on this candle. And I just felt like, I don't know. I don't know if I trust this. I just don't want to take the risk. So it ends up flushing down, popping back up, coming back down. And I was like, I'm glad I just steered clear of this. And we ended up having a lot of selling on it. Now, what was kind of surprising on this was the fact that the float was as low as it is. So SMFL, let's see, we have, is this going to show? No, this is just an announcement. So the last earnings statement was in November. And at that time, they showed a float of about 800,000 shares, November 17th, 2023. It's a very low float. So then I was like, okay, well, wait a second. They just did a reverse split right here. They did a reverse split on April 22nd of 7-1. So now I'm like, okay, so the float is now 1/7 of what it was. So it's about 1 million. So sorry, so 700,000. So yeah, it's like 100,000 share float. And I was like, is that for real? Is that serious? And to be honest, the way it's trading on the level 2 doesn't, I don't know. I think that that's not even, so this gets into a little bit of an interesting question, because I would wager, and I could be wrong, but let's look at SMFL for 1 second. I would wager that there are more than 70,000 shares of orders that are on the book right now. So there's people that are bidding, right? And if you're putting an order out there to buy, you haven't, that's fine. You could do that. You're creating liquidity. But it feels like there's a lot more than 70,000 shares of buy and sell orders out here on this. Sell orders specifically. And that shouldn't be possible if there's really only 70,000 shares available to trade. So now I said, well, maybe they did an offering. So I was looking to see, well, what was the last offering they did? And they did an offering last year, 1.5 million shares. And I guess, you'd have to look sort of closely to see if it's possible there are warrants out there that have a strike price above, they're in the money right now, so they could be selling. I don't know. It just seems interesting that despite the float being as low as it is, that it's selling off and not showing strength. Because the fact is, it's got 27 million shares of volume. It's a huge amount of volume. With such a low float, this kind of should have gone up like crazy. So I'm sort of surprised. But you know, I mean, you trade the market you're in. It can be irrational and not make sense. You just got to focus on the technicals. So the technicals told me to get out and take my money and run, and I did. Up $1,700 on it, $1,787. So, you know, just a couple base hits. Wasn't able to hit any home runs. Accuracy today was super solid. So I was happy about that, you know. But I don't know, something a little odd about this stock. I'm just kind of surprised it didn't do more. So anyways, it's just the way it is. But in terms of other stocks that were on the scan today, JCSC popping up, LPA, very light volume, couple halts, FFIE, no interest, FENG. You can see we don't have a lot. Now, if we switch to the scanner that's top penny, let's see, penny top gainers. This is the one I want. You'll see sorted by volume that you've got 480 million shares on HLTH. FFIE's got 440 million shares. So you've got a lot of volume on these. I think it's the commission-free traders buying and selling to scalp, you know, fractions of a penny with huge size. But that's not something I'm interested in. So no trades on that for me. But you can see we definitely still have some volume in the penny stock kind of area of the market. But it does feel like I'm kind of waiting to see the next traditional typical stock price between 2 and 10 or so to go up 500%. Because the thing with a stock that starts down at 10, 15 cents a share, 20 cents a share, is you've got a lot of people that'll buy 100,000 shares, 200,000 shares, just to, hey, I'll just throw 200,000 shares on this and let's just see, maybe it'll go to $1 and I'll cash out 200 grand. And it's not day trading. It's just sort of speculative betting in the market. It's gambling. But with some people, there's maybe have an intuition, educated guess, and more of an edge. And if they're successful, but there's a lot of people that just kind of throw money on these and hope they make a big move. The problem is once they do come up to $1 or $1.50 or $2, you have people that are dumping 50,000 shares, 100,000 shares, 200,000 shares. These are huge orders. When a stock starts at $5, you don't have people that are dumping 100,000 shares onto the market. So they don't get as thickly traded as these cheap penny stocks tend to get. So, you know, I generally find that the stocks that start between 3 and 5 and then go up to 6, 8, 9 move faster. And that's where we get some parabolic price action. So, you know, that's certainly something I would like to see. I'll be looking forward to the next one. But in the meantime, the overall market pulling back a little bit. So we're on a little bit of a dip in the overall market. You know, it feels like maybe a good time just to sort of manage risk, be a little bit more cautious while the market's pulling back and see whether or not anything ends up kind of showing us some strength. Probably not tomorrow, but going into next week. This is still a holiday week. It's a short week, so expectations are kind of low. And I'm just grinding on small numbers right now, but keeping my head above water, and I'm happy with that. So thank you guys as always for tuning in. If you haven't already checked out, we have a 2-week trial at Warrior Trading that you could do. It's $20 for a 2-week trial. And I'll put the link, I'll pin it to the top of the description. So you guys could check that out if you're interested. And I'll thank you as always for tuning in. I hope you're subscribed to the channel. I hope you hit that thumbs up. And I'll remind you as always that trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.